Good morning. How many were here for the panel yesterday, the raw food panel? And Friday? All right, good. How many told at least one other person to come here today? Yeah. Okay, so thank you for coming. I know that if I didn't have to be here, I'd be on the beach. So raw food panel number 3. I know by the end of the panel, the room will be filled up. Now again, the reason that we do this is to answer all your questions about energy, because that's all it's about, is energy. What we eat, how we breathe, how we live, how we think. So what I'm going to do is have each person introduce themselves, and if they talk a little bit longer than I think they should, I will gracefully, with a smile, tell them to stop. And then what we'll do is we'll have questions and answers. At the end, everyone will tell you how they can get in touch. You can get in touch with them, et cetera, et cetera. So there will not be any commercial from them through the whole panel. It's going to be fact, answer, question, and because I want you to get everything that you came here for. How's that? Is that a deal? Is that a deal? Okay, we're in. Okay, so first person I'm going to introduce is, if anybody has a cell phone, please donate it here. So the first person is Kevin Shuker, who is a living example of what a lot of us are striving to do. Really? Kevin.
Good morning. I'd like to thank you all for coming here to the Yoga Raw Expo. I want to thank Mark so much for putting on this event. This is the second year, and it's really exciting. This is the only Raw Expo in the New York City area, so it's fantastic to be here and be part of it. My name is Kevin Shuker. I wear a number of hats as far as the raw food community is concerned. I give regular workshops in the New York City area. I'm giving a workshop tonight. I have an internet broadcasting company. We work with Mark. We're the official online broadcasters of the New Life Expo and the Yoga Raw Expo. And so far we've recorded 20 workshops here over the past day and a half. And we'll be recording more. So any that you don't see here, you don't manage to get to, you'll be able to see the speakers, including this panel. This panel will go out free, and you'll be able to see this panel again if you visit us at QUEST.TV. So I guess we'll talk a little bit more as we go along, but I'll pass you over.
Also, not only for yourself, but any of your friends or family that couldn't come, they can actually download the workshops and the panels right from the computer. So it's pretty good. So you can go to QUEST.TV, you can go to nyyogaexpo.com, you can go to newlifeexpo.com. And this is the only Raw Expo in New York, but it's the only Yoga and Raw Expo on the planet. Probably other planets, too. Arianna.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Arianna Rose, and like Kevin, I wear a lot of hats in the community. I've been 100% Raw since October 2007, and since that time, I have a Rockaway Raw meetup group where we have monthly potlucks and events. I also have a Raw Cafe out in Long Island, and I'm the volunteers manager for the Raw Spirit Festival.
Where in Long Island is that?
It's in Rockville Center, right near you. Yeah. So that's my story.
And Paul Nison.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Great. My name is Paul, and I'm a raw food author and chef, and I'm from New York, but I now live in Florida. And through Hippocrates Health Institute many years ago, I got better from ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. And then I moved back to New York, and the first raw person I met in New York is actually in the room today in the audience. The second person I met is sitting next to me. And then I met many other people besides that. We've been doing it for quite a long time, the raw food diet. And I've written 8 books now, and I'll be doing a lecture tonight on my newest book called The Daylight Diet. And if you can come on, that'd be great. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Ms. Donna Perrone.
Hi there, everyone. Let's see, where do I begin? I have many hats also. I met Paul when he first started, yes. I have a group called Accent on Wellness. I've been leading and hosting events that are raw food emphasized for about 14 years now. And I offer support group, discussion group, as well as guest speakers like Paul, who's going to be speaking in July for Accent on Wellness, August, sorry. And so if you're interested in learning more about this lifestyle and also how to do it successfully and safely, I'm very conservative in terms of speaking about how to transition properly and also how to cleanse properly, because there can be some pitfalls that one runs into in the process. You can sign my email list, and I have information. Also, I am a colon hydrotherapist. I have an office called Gravity East Village downtown. Mike Perrone is my business partner, and we have a great gravity method office. How do I describe it? Office downtown. So I have information about that as well. And I've been raw I had my 20-year anniversary in March. I'm not 100% on raw foods, but I am almost primarily, pretty much, very close. I just went to Paris. What a challenge to be raw in Paris, I'll tell you. But I ate very simply.
And when did you get back?
I got back last night.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on Paris time still. So as you can see, I'm very alert. But yes, it can be done.
Thank you. And the incredible Chad Vandenberg.
Well, hello, Mark Becker. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you for putting on this Raw Expo, this Raw Yoga Expo, and that's why I believe I'm here, is because the word yoga meaning union. I've always been attracted to the unexplored, the edge, the possible union of heaven and earth within, and the possibility for nutrition playing a role in that path. So I came to this path through challenge. I thought I was going to be a cripple for the rest of my life. I was a gymnast. Got into catastrophic injury with an accident in my knee, and basically I was in pain 24/7. Through that process, found gold, platinum group elements, and the relationship between mineralization and the way we think and the way we feel and the choices we have access to. So started exploring gold, and then from there began to learn about other things, alkalinity, began to learn about enzymes, because even though I had learned about minerals and gold and it had a profound effect, I still was making unconscious choices. I was getting into hypoglycemic territory, all on organic stuff that I thought were right for me. So if you want to know about the edge, the unexplored, basically what we're doing now is we're taking this basic information, creating a transmittable format so that you can experience it in your life and then pass it on easily, quickly, and have a great time doing it. We have a community. It's a lot of fun. It's called Elements for Life, and it's a way to get the principles of life into your body so that your body's out of competition for cellular resources. And psychologically, when we get out of competition at the cellular level, suddenly we get out of scarcity consciousness in the macro. Psychologically, we suddenly start looking like the world is full of opportunity, and we got the energy to achieve it. So that's what this lifestyle is all about. Yeah, some people are trying to get to challenge to baseline. We can help those, and we can have a program to help you help those people, but ultimately it's about going to the next level and embodying all that this human experience has to offer, which is union with the divine.
Thank you. And Chad actually emulates, and what the Expo is about is opening up your mind to all possibilities so that you can reach your maximum potential, which is what Chad is about. And Rick Panson.
Hello, everyone. How many of you'd like to have a lot more health in your life? And how many would you like to have it a lot less expensive for you? Well, then raw is the way to go. It really is. And I've seen that happen, and I've seen it happen over and over again. And the reality is the best nutrition you can possibly get is going to be raw. And mind, body, spirit. Mark, thank you so much for letting me sit on the panel and putting on these events year after year. It's a tireless job. I'd like to just give you a lot of thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
What I actually do is I am trained by Dr. Robert O. Young, one of the world's leading researchers on acid-alkaline balance. I'm a microscopist, a nutritional microscopist. I can look at a drop or two of blood out of your fingertip, and you can see what the inner ecology of your system is doing. And by doing so, we can see bacteria, mold, fungus, yeast, and other types of phenomenon in your blood, which is the microcosm of the way your whole system is operating. And that's what I do.
Thank you.
Amongst other things.
So I'm going to start off with the first question, and the first one is going to be a double question, which probably will take at least 10 seconds to answer from each. No, it's a good one. And one is, what are the benefits for you that a raw living food diet has done? And how does someone that has never done it before, how should they transition into that? And let's go down the line. Kevin.
I've been a raw foodist since '98, and I used to have a tea house down in the East Village, and it was the first raw food tea house in New York City. It was there for 2 years. And in fact, I know Paul, because in those days, Paul used to make soup for me there and used to deliver it a couple times a week. And it's great to see Paul has come now from making soup in the tea house. Now he has all these books. What is the greatest aspect of it? My real expertise is the lymphatic system and fasting. I recently just did a 130-day fast. My workshop is on fasting, and how that combines with the lymphatic system. And what I really got from it was really the fast I got last year. Even being a raw foodist for 10, 12 years now, it suddenly clicked with me. And I'd been doing a fast, and I was on the 54th day of a fast. I did 104 days last year.
Fasting on?
On green juices, lemonade, primarily at that time. And this 130-day one, I was adding more raw soups, but I can talk a little bit more later on. And I went to see Rick to have my blood looked at. And so we looked at the blood under the microscope. We wanted to see what does the blood look like after someone's been fasting for 54 days. And we looked at my blood, and Rick said to me, "Oh, your blood looks perfect." And I suddenly realized that was what it was all about. My body was now alkaline. It was not acidic. And the benefit is that when the body is acidic, it's destroying itself. It's really degenerating and destroying itself. When it becomes alkaline, it begins to regenerate itself. And if we can keep our body in a place of alkalinity, then we can continue in a place of regeneration. Now that opens up an incredible world of potential. A potential of cellular regeneration allows us to look at our health, our longevity, our level of vibrancy, and all that can be enhanced just by moving from an acid to an alkaline state. Now, I'm sure we all know this, and we're all going to be talking about acid and alkalinity here today. So that's just a little insight into me. Once I realized the alkaline body allowed regeneration, it allowed me to regenerate. And I see that as perhaps the simplest and the greatest thing I've learned so far.
And how would a meat eater, how many people eat meat here? How many other people eat meat here? Okay, so how does a meat eater transition? Yes, everybody's gonna answer these questions.
I'll be quick.
In your experience,
transitioning from me was very easy. I just made the decision not to do it. But I would say there is incredible information out there. Whether you look at it scientifically or you look at the availability of other people with information, on all levels, the decision to stop eating animals is not just going to enhance your personal health, it's going to enhance the health of this planet. So to me, it was just a simple decision not to participate. The greatest challenge is, what do you replace those meals with? And I've sort of encouraged people to move from perhaps meat eating to vegetarian, and then moving to vegan, and then moving to raw food diet. That transition can be made very simply and very easily. But as you move through it, as you gain more knowledge, each step becomes actually easier. The toughest step is that first step. And then things begin to change. My mom is 76 in a couple of weeks, and my mom has been a raw food vegan for 5 years. She's 71 when she became raw food vegan. After 10 years of fighting me on this and telling me that everything I was doing was wrong and everything wasn't working right. Well, she had peripheral vascular disease. I'm a physical therapist by profession. I work a lot in the hospitals. And one of the things we see a lot is peripheral vascular disease, and my mom got it. And
what is that?
It's when the blood supply to the leg is diminished, and legs get dark, and if you've seen it, they can be ulcerative. So she had the beginning of that. And she went to the doctor, and the doctor, you know, told her what was going on, put her on medications. And the first time in all these years, my mom and I had a real conversation about what was going on in her body. And my mom changed overnight. She did a 21-day fast immediately and just stopped just stopped eating meat. Well, it took her about 2 years. And then one day I got a call from her about 2 years later, and she said to me, Kevin, I get it. I get it. I just got it. I got it. I walked past the butcher's shop, and I looked in there, and I got it. And I'm never going to eat meat again. So the journey...
So you can start at any age.
At any age. I'm so proud of my mom. And my mom now said she was sitting in a restaurant and somebody was eating lamb next to her. And she looked at her and went, "Bleh, bleh." And I said to Mom, you can't be doing that in public. She said, well, that's what you do. Don't you do that? I said, oh, yeah, but you can't do that. So anybody can change. It's just taking that first step. It will all unfold for you as you move forward.
Arianna.
The benefits of a raw food lifestyle, for me, there's no cons. The first thing is energy. I have incredible amounts of energy. I need less sleep. Creativity, your mind clears. It's really not even about the food anymore. It's more about the other areas of my life and how it makes me more accountable for my actions, for the way that I relate with other people, for cleaning up my own messes, for being more present in my body and in the moment. And I've really focused in my journey on creating community. So through my meetup group, I became a raw food chef and instructor, and I love educating people and teaching people how to transition, how to make this a part of your life for whatever percentage that you want to. And you meet the most incredible people. I mean, I've had interactions with everybody on this panel and with Mark in one way or the other, and I can point to Rick Panson as this is just incredible. He was my boss when I was a singing waitress and bartender at a piano bar in the Village in the 90s, and we both came to raw foods. And, so it's this amazing, small, and yet vibrant and growing community. And for me, it's all about connection, support, and what it does for you on many, many levels. And so for me, it was easy because I came through it being vegetarian for 20 years, vegan for 3. And so actually becoming raw vegan from vegan was much easier than going from vegetarian to vegan because I really love cheese. And that was a really hard thing to give up. It took me a long time to do that. And what I focus on in my chefing is actually desserts. I do everything. But I feel like everyone knows that fruits and vegetables are good for you and you need to eat more of them. But when you're transitioning, you don't want to feel deprived. And a lot of people are very like this about their food and don't make me give up my food, whatever it is. So if I can show you that you can have more healthy desserts and still be able to satisfy your sweet tooth or whatever emotional, physical level that you need to do that on, you're much more likely to then make the transition in the other areas.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I became a vegetarian in '76, and it was a little bit different not different for myself, but people start becoming vegetarians and raw foodists for 2 reasons, either for health or spirituality, or sometimes both. When it's for spirituality, which is what I did because of yoga, ahimsa, we don't believe in killing animals, that the whole consciousness of everything changes a channel. So you see things really differently. If you're doing it for health-wise, then of course it's another channel because you feel yourself getting much healthier, etc. But be it if you're doing it for a spiritual reason or for health reason, eventually you become healthier and more spiritual. So it's all good. Paul.
Thank you. Just so everyone knows, I was a raw food chef. I didn't just make soup, but at a tea house. But
he was smoldering there.
I was a soup maker. No soup for you. No raw soup for you. But what the raw food diet has done for me was right now, when I started this, I had inflammatory bowel disease, and my doctor told me that the only cure was getting my colon removed. And at the time I didn't know better. I didn't get my colon removed, but everything she told me didn't work, so I started doing the opposite, and it worked. She told me that raw foods would be bad for my condition, so I knew I was on the right track. And I got better. I got better by eating raw foods. My condition healed. And I worked with a lot of people over the years, and I've seen them come through Hippocrates Health Institute, which is a world-class health spa where people come that doctors had given up on, and they're getting better from these conditions, and they have over 50 years of this happening. So I know on one level the raw food works. However, there's a big problem I find today in the raw food movement, and it's really what I have a big passion about. When I wrote this book, The Formula for Health, and I have another book called Health According to the Scriptures, I've realized that the key is temperance in all things, and no matter what you're eating, even if it's raw food, if you're overeating and eating at the middle of the night, you're going to end up with similar problems, because a big problem that people have is not just the quality of the food, it's overeating on food. And the problem today in the raw food movement is overeating on raw foods and eating too late and eating the raw junk foods. Raw fruits and vegetables are the highest quality food for your body, and you can live on them and be perfectly healthy. Dr. Fred Bishey, a great nutritionist in New York, has been on a raw food diet for over 40 years, and he's thriving. However, the majority of people I'm seeing today aren't thriving on a raw food diet because they're overeating and they're eating too late at night. So raw foods did wonders for me because it healed me from my disease, and it can heal everyone here. However, it's not just raw food. Raw food alone is not a panacea. You have to eat it at the right time, the right amount, and as fresh as possible. And then you'll experience the great benefits from it. How do you switch from eating a meat-based diet to a raw food diet? It's very simple. You just stop eating meat and start eating more raw foods. But basically, there's so many raw food restaurants out there now. Some people like to use these fake meats in raw dishes. And so other people, they don't even want anything to do with that. But it's just really, anytime you make a change, it's challenging at first. But if you consistently stick with it, eventually you'll be successful. And that's what will make it possible.
And for all those that have or haven't had really tasty, incredible, phenomenal, stupendous, raw living food, Quatamani downstairs, they came here, actually live in Costa Rica, but they came here from Florida. Their food is phenomenal, incredible, and none of the fake pseudo foods. And also what Paul just said is very important, and we learned that in yoga. It's moderation. Everything is moderation. Donna?
Let's see. Well, when I started 20 years ago, I had chronic yeast infections, the vaginal kind. And I also had bad skin, acne, constipation, painful periods. I'm skinny now. I was really bony thin. All the ice cream in the world, I couldn't gain a pound. And then I get on to this raw foods diet, and I transitioned. It took me about a year, giving up meat first. You want to probably give up the most toxic foods like meat, and then processed foods, refined foods. And then you might want to give up dairy. And then once you reach that plateau, then, once you give up animal protein, then you're probably overeating on carbs, or maybe you're macrobiotic. Still kind of an acidic approach to food. So then you're going to cut back on those carbs. And that's when it gets a little funny, because you're used to that full feeling. So when we move towards juicing, vegetable juices, and eating lots of salads and raw foods, not too much fruit now, that's too much sugar, you're going to be attracted to overeating on things like nuts and seeds, dehydrated crackers, high gourmet. So restaurants like, I don't want to mention any names, the more the restaurants in the city that are more rich, a lot of oils in us. This is not a raw foods diet. So what Paul mentioned, eating more simple, is really where it's at. But it takes time to get there and to be satisfied and happy. So there's discipline involved, and there's also allowing yourself a little space. So the worst thing you can do on a raw foods diet is to be 100% raw. Hey, I'm doing it. I'm great. And then like, I can't do that. I have to have a slice of pizza. And then you're all the way over here. Hamburgers, pizzas, pizza, French fries. And then you're like, oh, I feel terrible. So I'm going to be 100% raw again. So this, down the line, this kind of yo-yoing back and forth, as the years go by, you will wind up with serious health problems. So finding the middle ground, in my talks that I lead, I say be a happy vegan. Try to find a place of being completely satisfied, being vegan and not eating junk. And then increase more raw. Get that juicer going. No raw foodist is going to do this successfully in the long term without green drinks, whether it's wheatgrass or blended like energy soup, or so you got to have lots of greens in the diet. Look at the primates, the silverback gorilla, for instance. They eat pound per pound as much fruit as they do greens. So it's very important that you're mineralizing on a lot of greens in the diet every day. And colonics. So once, I'm the colon therapist, so I have to go there. So when you're transitioning, if you have a serious health problem and you've got to be raw overnight, okay? Wow, you've been just diagnosed with cancer. Oh God, I'm in pain. I have to heal quickly. So I'm going to be 100% raw. If you're going to go that route, then you really got to get into the colonic room, because once the cells start to experience the vitality and energy in that raw food, it creates an awakening. And those cells start to release poisons and toxic gases into the system. And you're going to be expelling toxins through your breath, through the lungs, through your skin, but also through the colon. A raw foodist, when they're not cleansing successfully or properly, usually they're going to have problems with skin, rashes, acne, that kind of thing. If the poison can't leave the body through the natural channels and the organs are overworked, then it's going to find another way out. So sometimes we're on this path, we start off feeling really great, and then we hit a brick wall. My brick wall came about 5 years into it, and I just wasn't feeling as energetic. I just, my skin was never cleared up. I had so many pimples, and I was wondering, why isn't this not working? The more I moved towards juicing, fasting, and the worse it got. And finally, a friend said, you gotta have a colonic. So I went from being constipated as a child into my 20s, and then doing raw foods and going to the bathroom several times a day. And once, I didn't think I needed that. But once I started putting colonics into my overall program, my skin cleared up. I started noticing at my own events that the people that were doing colon cleansing as part of their program had this vibrance in the skin, a certain glow. And
I'm just going to stop it. But I mean, any questions that you have on fasting, cleansing, etc., we'll take those questions also.
And I'm teaching a class on juice fasting at 5 o'clock today. But
we're going to do that later. I'm going to do every commercial. I'm going to do so many commercials later.
Yeah. If something is missing in your journey, my last word on this, I can go on forever.
Okay, so I'm cutting you off now.
Is to question
we
if
love
this
you,
is
Donna.
missing.
So, but again, it's the moderation. It's the moderation. It's not the yo-yo effect. You know, we don't want to 100%, 80%, 50%, 80%. The cleansing, etc. You know, because we hate bipolar, schizophrenic, constipated raw foodists. I mean, Chad.
All right. So thank you very much. I went raw. I've been raw 100%, 6 years, went overnight. And I can testify that it's better to start now while you don't have to, because I only did it because I had to. It was either that or death. I was on the edge. My pancreas shot, adrenal shot. And for me, there was no other alternative. Start now where you got the chance. Learn these techniques. Learn the great stuff to put in so you can crowd out the bad choices. Because if you stop the bad choices and have nothing to replace them with, it's called fasting. You want to have something to replace it with, good, healthy stuff. For me, the revelations came first and the lifestyle choices later, like meat, hormones in the meat. People are addicted to blood and the adrenaline in the blood. If you can learn to get alkaline and get the superfoods, the power foods, everything that's good for our body, your body will start producing hormones on its own, and those levels will increase. You'll have natural, buoyant drive. That's why people get the drive when they eat that meat. They get that strength, and they're depending on the animals' hormones instead of their own. What we want to do is get to a place where all these pieces are in place. The puzzle's all complete in our own body, and that way, what it was for me, there's no judgment here, but what came to me was my own inner voice. Long before I quit meat, this is no judgment, but it's just my own voice for me. It was not about right or wrong, but it was what was useful. And it went like this. It was, all right, it's time to be raw. Eat no chicken or macaw. And then it was the voices. I'd rather lick an empty dish than touch my tongue to steak or fish. Because if you think it's crazy to take a life without a knife as you bite through warm blood and sinew to the core, then you're probably not a true carnivore. So think twice before you top your rice with the chop it up, shut your eyes, flame broil. Now, just that alone, that alone was a big jump.
You didn't know you were going to get that, did you?
So yeah, go raw, go now. It's fun, it's easy. You can transition. Yeah, you need to stop some of the other poison stuff, but you don't have to do it cold turkey like it did. You can transition, and it can be easy and graceful.
Thank you. Also, I had a constructive criticism yesterday from somebody in the audience that they said, you know, it's a good idea if you ask the panelists to stand up because in the back they can't see you. So is that a good idea? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Rick.
Well, then I'll stand up. Hi, in the back. I think that looking through a microscope for a living gives you a real advantage over other people because you get to see the garbage when you eat something that's not good for you. And when I had my microscope early on in the day, I had no idea that it would lead to raw food. I just started to watch what happens to my blood when I eat stuff. And it led me to this kind of through the back door. The benefits are obvious that you have better energy and your system doesn't have as much garbage in it to try to get rid of when you're eating a natural-based diet designed by nature or God, whoever you want to call who created this whole system. Plants make their own food. Animals can't. And that's the difference. We need to eat the plants in order to get the fuel for our systems, and then the benefits are outstanding. You can talk to anybody. You're going to have benefits. The way to transition, I believe, is to start by picking up something and eating it raw every day. A banana. And not that many people cook their bananas. You know, get something into you. A cucumber instead of an apple has a lot less sugar. It's a lot more alkaline. So I have these charts that show alkaline. If you didn't get one, you'll get them at the end. I have more than enough for everybody. But the idea is start by putting good stuff in. If you start putting good stuff in, you'll have less room and need for other stuff, and then enjoy the adventure. It is a lot of fun. Look at the people that you get to meet even years later that you know, you want to sing? She is a very gifted singer, this one over here, okay? And an entertainer. But it is a fun thing. The people you meet are magical, and the energy that we're creating on the planet is something that gives me chills. And let me just tell you, I am humbled to even be here with such a, you know, really committed people. It's wonderful because I am standing on the shoulders of so many giants to learn what I learn. And it's fun. It's really a lot of fun. That's the bottom line. That's why I do it, because I enjoy it. It's fun. I took up mountain biking last week just for the fun of it. You can't do that if you're eating garbage. You can't.
But again, as I said at the beginning, what raw food and yoga is about is energy. And energy is number one, more important than the food, than the oxygen, than the water. Energy. And what we do by eating raw food is we put energy into our being. We go right to the plants, right to the seeds, right to the nuts, right to the life force. And that's what we're about, life force. We'd rather walk around where people say hello and wow, that person's up, than oh, that person really brings me down, that person's a downer. And you have more vitality. Look, this is vitality here. You have vitality. You're going to walk around here and meet people that you're going to be attracted to. Some of you will find your beloved here, because you're going to be attracted to the energy that's going on. Take advantage of the booths. Take advantage of the speakers. Go for the knowledge.
I have 4 questions.
So the first question is...
What's the difference between live food and raw? Which one's better?
Okay, now that we'll just jump into live food and raw.
I'm eating sprouts here. They're still alive. Broccoli. These are still alive. The roots are on them. The sunflower sprouts I brought were harvested yesterday, so they're biologically not still growing. Broccoli you buy in a store that is a finished flower of a broccoli plant, that's a raw broccoli. But the broccoli sprouts have 30 times the nutritional value.
Name 5 raw foods.
5 raw foods: broccoli, spinach, kale, parsley, and cucumber.
5 live foods.
Sunflower sprouts, buckwheat sprouts, wheatgrass is live when you're going to get it freshly pressed. I'm a grower of all kinds of sprouts. So you got broccoli, you got clover, alfalfa. Steve Meyerowitz is here, isn't he? This great sprout man.
The sprout man was here yesterday.
He's a fantastic guru of mine. And then today you have Deborah Secunda, I believe, talking about sprouting at 5 o'clock.
Besides sprouting, what is live foods? Only sprouts?
Go ahead.
That's it.
Unless you pick the wild food right, right out of the ground.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I'd say anything that gives a net increase to your cells, something that gives a charge. We eat for charge, and that's what live food is. Obviously, if it's growing roots, sprout, and leaves. That's alive as you can get. That ultimately is where it's going, and then you want to bring in some roots once in a while for the medicinal qualities. Superfoods like maca, cordyceps. You know, as long as it hasn't gone over 105 to 118 degrees, even if it's not sprouting, at least it has its enzymes there. That's what tells your organs what to do. That's an important component. If it has been dried very, very gently, I wouldn't even recommend that. But hey, if you're going to do it, make sure it was low temperature.
Okay.
Oh, and durian, and avocados and dulse.
Another question? Yes.
We'll come back to him. Should come back to him.
Oh, no, there's going to be a lot more. We'll go back to each.
Can even the torn cartilage in the knee be healed if you go completely raw?
Can you hear torn cartilage even in the knee by nutrition? Yes, Chad.
Yeah, I was in catastrophic injury. I ripped my knee. I had a golf ball size spur sticking out. My tendon wouldn't go over. I was on crutches 3 months. Thought I'd never walk again. Completely healed. It went for years in a low level, not healed state. Couldn't run. Always in pain. When I got alkaline, it all went away. Did my first backflip in 15 years. 6 months ago. Been making progress ever since.
Oh,
so.
we went, and a few of us went dancing the other day. You think he raps? He can dance.
Also, your belief system is very, very. Your belief system is also very important. If you believe you can heal, doing raw foods, then you have a better chance of doing that.
Kevin.
I'm a physical therapist by profession. I've been a physical therapist for 25 years. I'm a rehabilitation specialist, and I still work as a consultant physical therapist in hospitals. And first of all, as far as nutrition in hospitals is concerned, if you've ever been into a hospital lately and see what people give them, there's still Jell-O, there's still egg on toast for breakfast. And these are people who are ill, who need something that allows them to regenerate. And they're still being given poor food. Also, something I've noticed over the years is that when I first became a physical therapist, you go into a hospital room, the family and friends used to bring fruit, grapes, fruit for the patients, but now they bring potato chips and Coca-Cola for them. Now, when people are undergoing healing, they need the best quality nutrition that they can get. And over the years, incorporating what I know now into a rehabilitation situation, I would say that anybody can regenerate anything. If there is one cell left that's still working within any organ or anywhere in the body, that cell can divide. Okay? Unless it's been removed, all right? But I will say this, there is a potential perhaps that an organ that's been partially removed could regenerate. I can't say to you that is happening right now, but the potential is there. As long as a cell is there, if it's gone, if it's been removed, if they've all gone, it cannot regenerate. But one cell can regenerate into two. Those two become 4. They become 8. They gradually begin to multiply. But in order to achieve that place, they need to be in a place of alkalinity. They need the minerals, the hydration that comes only from the food. They cannot regenerate in an acidic state. So in any instance, whatever injury you've got, it can change. And it can change through 2 processes. First of all, cleaning out the body a little bit more to allow the body to be in a place where it can regenerate, and then providing it with what it needs in order to regenerate. And that potential is always there. And it's up for each individual to achieve that potential and allow that to occur, which is a naturally occurring reaction. We are a self-healing organism, and that's the way it works.
Thank you. And in yoga we realize that nutrition is one factor, but also that 50% is in the mind. And so our nervous system responds to what we think is true, not what is true. And so if we imagine ourselves getting better, and we see ourselves getting better, and we affirm that we're getting better, we're visualizing that it's getting better, physiologically we get the same benefit. I mean, not that anybody here ever did, but if you have like a sexual fantasy, even though there's no sex, you could orgasm. If you think food, and even though there's no food, your salivary glands start going. If you think fear, there's no fear, your adrenal glands start going. So, number 1, we're getting good energy in the body. Number 2, we're blessing our food, of course. But just realize it, keep affirming it, keep visualizing yourself getting better. Yeah, we can heal ourselves. I don't know if we can grow an organ, but we can heal anything that's in our body. In yoga, we know that.
Actually, today, we are actually able to regenerate an ear, a liver in the medical laboratories. We have gotten to the point technologically that we can look, I'm not much of a guy who likes the medical community. My mom just had a stroke, and I had to spend 3 weeks in a hospital sleeping there. I don't like these people. But some of the breakthroughs that are coming out of the medical community, we have to acknowledge is they're going to be part of our solution, too. They're all part of humanity. And when you can see in a laboratory that they can grow an ear from one ear cell of yours that will go back on you and be reattached, that's a pretty exciting future.
Yeah. And I hope New Life was a part of that. You know, in the old days it was holistic medicine. Now it's alternative metaphysical, complementary medicine and integrative medicine. So what the goal of all of us is to build a bridge, you know, and whatever's in the smorgasbord that can help us heal, just go for it, use it.
And yeah, I wanted to add about the knee because actually about 3 years ago I was about 70 pounds heavier than I am now. So a little bit of that I lost before I went raw, but most of it I've lost since then. And what it's been for me is really an opportunity to really become friends with my body and to understand how it works and what it needs. And like Kevin, and we actually met last year when I was in the middle of a 73-day juice feast, and then I just did another 40-day one. And
Seriously said, a juice feast.
Juice feast.
I like that.
Because I had an eating disorder in my 20s and my 30s, and so fasting and the binging, starving, you know, I have done all of that. I've done everything. And I have just not nurtured myself with food, with my life, or really it comes back to me all the time about self-worth. You know, am I worth loving? Am I a lovable person? Am I allowed to be on this earth doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And when I really connect with that, whether it's through yoga, whether it's through food, through the wonderful community that we all create together, then healing occurs and change happens. But when I first moved to the Rockaways, I was jogging on the boardwalk, and I tore meniscus in both knees. And I've had 2 operations on my right knee back in my 20s, and there are different substances out there that will definitely help. And I don't distribute anymore, so I don't get any money from this, but if you go to Victoria's Kovinskis' booth, there is something there, and I know there's many other vendors here that have different things that will help you. As you clean up your food, there's also supplements that you can take, and Chad can probably talk to you about that as well, with helping with that. Because now I can jog. I jog on the sand. I'm up to 4 miles a day again, and I don't have any pain, and I can do yoga, and it's just miraculous. But it's really about getting to know your body and knowing what works. You know, desserts are really fun, and I love doing that, but greens are the best for me, and I do a lot of greens all the time. And you just have to, I think, be kind and be gentle with yourself, because for some people it's really easy to do that transition and boom, they're 100% raw and no problems. But for most of us, it's this mountain and these hills and these valleys and these peaks, and you go 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards, and then you beat yourself up because you didn't do it perfectly, whatever that is.
It's the moderation.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to sing.
I'll do that later.
What about vegetables that are advertised as fresh frozen?
Anyone?
All I can tell you is that when you freeze your food, it loses about 60% of its life force. So it may be fresh when it's picked, and it may be frozen right away, but it is going to lose a lot of its life force.
What do you think about the coconut water downstairs? No, it tastes good, but it's frozen. It comes from
Thailand. I get
right.
Yeah, I get fresh coconut water on a. Oh, sorry. Hello in the back. I get fresh coconut water daily on a regular basis in Florida. I just get them from the trees, and the coconut water downstairs is much better than the coconut water that comes in the Thai coconuts. Those are dipped in formaldehyde and aren't as good. This, even though it's frozen, I just heard of it for the first time. It's not as good as the fresh, obviously, but still it's better than that. So it's in between.
So it's better than the coconut water in the regular coconuts.
No, not in regular coconuts.
In
the
Thai
coconuts.
Yeah, the Thai
but a
coconuts,
regular fresh coconut tree is best. The answer to the question, though, is flash frozen is not as bad as cooked, but it's nowhere close to raw. It's like in the middle. So if you have a choice between cooked food or raw food or frozen food, cooked would be first. Flash frozen would be next.
3 times fast.
3 times fast. I could do that. I talk fast. But basically, you want the food as fresh as possible. But if it comes in a can, container, box, or any other package, you really want to be cautious that it's most likely not raw or fresh. So that's something, one of the ways you can keep that in mind.
Yes.
The sprout man said that the wheatgrass, the frozen wheatgrass, was just as good as regular wheatgrass. Could that be?
Definitely not. I mean, it's so potent, the wheatgrass. It's so good. Even frozen, it's still great for us. But nothing's better than fresh. I mean, I've been wheatgrassing for a long time, and at Hippocrates they have a 24-hour wheatgrass juice bar, and the people that drink it right away, and then if you leave it sitting out, it's not as fresh. But again, it's such a great food. Even frozen, it's benefit for our body.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense too. I mean, if you go downstairs and where they have the wheatgrass, it's the most vital wheatgrass I've ever seen. I mean, look at the color of it and the smell of it, and when you taste it, it'll blow your mind. I think it's the best wheatgrass I've ever had. Yeah. No, you already came with. Yes. Yes, I was going to ask. Are you asking about the nutrition on the bugs? What about the bugs?
I'll talk about the bugs a little bit, I guess. It comes down to two aspects, really. The first is organic versus conventional. And, of course, whenever you buy any kind of produce, there's going to be some dirt on it, and there's going to be some microbes on that produce, of which you can clean. But a lot of it, you can't clean it out. They're actually within the produce themselves. Well, as long as the food is clean, or if it's organic and it's got no pesticides on there and you've cleaned it a little bit, those microbes that are in that food are actually useful to you, all right? When the body ingests them, and our immune system, if you will, our body defense system, when it breaks them down, it's actually a good source of vitamin B12 for them. It's like that's where we can get some of it. Our body can deal with these microbes on a very low level. But the key, again, comes back to acidity and alkalinity, in that microbes have a role to play. Okay? Like all of us here, we all have a role. Well, what is the role of microbes? There are two types of microbes. Some have a good role. They help us digest some food, but there's some that aren't good for us. And what is their role? Why are they in us? Well, their role is to break us down, or break the body down when it dies. Okay? It's part of the decaying process, those microbes. But those microbes, how would they know that a certain individual had passed?
Or is ready to go.
Or ready to go. And that, again, comes down to acidity and alkalinity. Because when the body reaches a certain acidity, those microbes that are just floating around there, they can only be a few of them floating around, and our immune system can deal with them. But once it reaches acidity, they go like, bingo, this is what we're here to do. This host is now passed away, and now we have to start reproducing and fulfilling our destiny, which is to break down the body. Okay, so certain microbes, say like hepatitis C in the liver or something, that's a microbe that lives there waiting for a certain acidity, reproduces like crazy, and starts breaking down the body. Now, when that reproduces faster than our system can deal with it, then they begin to take over the body. But if our body is alkaline, which is where we're looking to go with the raw food diet, then those microbes do not reproduce. They either just hang out waiting for the environment to become acidic, or they can actually be neutralized by the acidic environment. So just to briefly answer your questions, those microbes on those foods are not really the problem that we really think it is. As long as you're cleaning it, you don't want to be eating the full dirt. But I did hear of a woman in Russia a couple of years ago who was just living on dirt. And there's a lot of minerals in some dirt. Not that I'm recommending you eat dirt. But those microbes, if the internal environment is appropriate, it's not really going to be an overwhelming problem to you.
And maybe someone else can answer this. How about those that say, well, there are different washes. You can put some Clorox in your water and kill the pesticides, etc. Would you agree with that?
When I started, I used to put apple cider vinegar, and I used to fill up the sink with water and throw everything in there and wash everything. I don't really do that anymore with the apple cider. It just weirds me out. But I would recommend, if you have a water ionizer, to use acid water, because that will help clean the water better. So these machines that they sell, even here, you have alkaline water and you have acid water. So the acid water is excellent for watering your plants, or washing your face, or if you do have a rash, excellent for that, and also for cleaning your vegetables.
That's a good one.
Can I answer that for a second? Just
yes.
Very, very quickly. we are so dependent upon microbial growth that we couldn't exist without it. So as Kevin was talking about the acidic environment from a microscope perspective, we actually see red blood cells transition. It's called pleomorphism instead of monomorphism. A red blood cell will turn into a bacterial form or a fungal form or a mold or even a yeast form, because in the slide on the microscope there's no more mechanism to keep it alkaline. Your body does that for you. And then if we introduce a little bit of, say, sodium bicarbonate solution to the slide and let it seep in, it'll go back to alkaline, and you can watch a rod bacteria turn back into a red blood cell. It is fascinating.
So should we wash the food in sodium?
Well, I would wash my food in just the acid alkaline water. I have an ionizer, and that spinach scare we had a couple years ago is because we pack spinach into a triple washed bag and we just leave it in a bag for a while. That's not good policy. We just need to rinse our stuff off, basically. You don't have to go crazy. Microbes are good for us. We cannot exist without them.
There's machines downstairs, acid alkaline. Yes. Yeah? Okay, how does one get off of coffee? How do we get off coffee?
Well, my brother was very addicted to coffee, and I actually was just trying to, everything everyone said here about cleaning our environment will help us get over our addictions. Mentally and emotionally, it's more of an issue, and we have to deal with it on that level. Spiritually as well, prayer can definitely help us. But what I had my brother do from a diet standpoint was there's something called E3 Live, which is a liquid algae, and it really helps, or any chlorophyll for that matter, will really put the oxygen back in our body. And it's known as the caffeine and all these other stimulants are not true energy, but the chlorophyll, the oxygen, is going to give us true energy. I would recommend the algae, chlorella, spirulina, and also E3 Live especially, which is a really fresh liquid algae. That really helps from a diet standpoint. But your issue only isn't coffee, because there are other substitutes, herbal substitutes, that taste similar to coffee without the caffeine. The issue is the caffeine you're most likely addicted to. So you really have to be careful with the caffeine, and you want to be careful with the raw diet, because I know a lot of people that try to get off coffee, but then they'll go on something like herbal tea, which has a lot of caffeine, if it's like the green tea, or some people might go on the cacao, which is very addicting because it has a lot of caffeine in it. So just if you change what you're doing, clean up the environment, but definitely emotionally and mentally you have to take some class on maybe how to get over addictions. But it is a drug, and your body's detoxing from it, so you're not going to feel great immediately. You have to give your body some time and realize it's going to be a tough road, but you can get there. But you have to understand it's not going to be perfect no matter what you do. You will have some withdrawal, but if you educate yourself on what's causing that, it'll help you get past that. So you got to be strong, disciplined, and enthusiastic about it.
I see a lot of people that are on fasts, and you might get a headache, but after a day or two, then you're fine. So sometimes just doing even a brief fast, a juice fast or a blended food fast, maybe 3 days, can help you to just make that change. We're creatures of habit, so some of it's emotional, some of it's physical. You can change over to green tea. Cacao, in my opinion, is fun food. It's not something that it's very stimulating, so that's not really the answer either. And then if you can switch from green tea to herbal tea, it all depends on what you're looking for. Is it that jolt, or is it something hot to drink in the morning? You could switch over to fruit, because the sugar in the fruit might make you feel a little more awake. Having that for breakfast, and then I'd like to see you all get on that green juice in the morning, and that's a great cup of Joe. Great cup of Joe. Start your day with green juice.
You have a super smoothie. You're going to fly all day, and you're not going to be hungry. Yes.
Just your thoughts on blending versus juicing, and is there one that's better to do at a certain time of day, and blend in the morning, juice at night?
Blending versus
It's all
juicing,
good.
and
It's
is it a
all
better time of the
good.
day to do it?
Sometimes I juice in the morning, and sometimes I have my blended smoothie. Sometimes it's a fruit and green smoothie. Sometimes it's a gazpacho. I have that for breakfast. And then in the afternoon when I'm working, I have my green juice. I'm sipping that in between clients. So, God, if you can do both in the day, have 16 to 32 ounces of juice every day and have a smoothie, man, you've reached another plateau. But if you love energy soup and juicing's not your thing, just get those greens in there. It's all good. No rules.
And it's okay for the fruits and vegetables?
Fruits and vegetables do not. Everyone should get a food combination chart. If you don't know what that is, look it up online. That's very important in the process. Don't want to ferment our beautiful food in the body. But what was your question? Well, vegetables and fruits, but greens are fine. Green leafy vegetables like kale, lettuce, spinach, with fruit is fine, and also celery.
Yes. We just answered that.
Well, a good food combining chart will help you understand about that. If you're still bloating, there might be other issues if you're following food combining. Where most people think they are and they're not. But with the blending, going back to that, we have to understand the blending food started really with Ann Wigmore with her energy soups, which didn't taste good at all, but she only put like a slice of an apple in there at most to sweeten it up. And Fred Bishy told me about blended salads, and now they call them smoothies. If you are using fruit in there, because it does mix with the leafy greens, okay, the majority of it should still be greens and very little fruit. Because a lot of people today are making a mistake and putting a whole blender full of fruit and maybe one little green in there, and they're calling it a green smoothie. The majority of it should still be green, and you'll be okay. But if you're doing too much fruit or too much of anything, you're still going to run into issues. So you want to make sure that it's in a healthy smoothie, not just a high sugar drink that's replacing a high sugar drink. Everything mixes with leafy greens. Actually, the leafy greens will help balance out the sugars in the fruit, but you want the majority of it to be leafy greens. A banana is fine, but you don't want to, you don't want to overdo with the fruit, which is a big problem today, and we discussed that yesterday.
Yes.
If you come to one of my meetings, I will give you a food combining chart.
And there's a chart in my book here too.
No commercials. We'll do the commercials in the end.
It's corn syrup. It's very similar to corn syrup. The same effect on the body as corn syrup. All these sweeteners in these bottles, these new sweeteners now today and so on, they're not as bad as white processed sugar, but some of them will do the same exact thing in the body. The best sweetener is the fruit itself, but we still don't want to overdo that. But the fresh fruit is the best sweetener. But stevia is stevia, which is not actually a sugar, but it has a very sweet taste, and that's what they use at Hippocrates Health Institute. Sometimes it's an extracto. There's the liquid stevia and the white stevia. I actually have, and I have it downstairs, and I use it every day I'm on YouTube making blended things with it. I use a green herbal stevia. It's medicinal, and it has the sweetener to it, and it doesn't have the aftertaste as the extract. So I could show you what that is downstairs, but that's what I recommend. It's hard to find, but you can find it down there, but it's really great.
Now, why at a Master Cleanse do they use maple syrup? Chad.
Basically, you're talking about mineralizations, and this is the same thing with fruit. If you get fruit that's ripened on the tree, in the last stages, it draws nutrients and minerals in, which slows down the pancreatic reaction. So when we're talking about mineralization, it slows the sugar absorption down. Most of the fruits on the market, even if they're organic, are plucked when they're still green, shipped from far away. By the time you get it, it's just depleting your pancreas. So, and then again on the sugar tip, as long as we're not mixing with fat, you have your salad smoothie, put some fruit in, but if you've got all of a sudden oils and avocados in that salad smoothie, that's when there's an interference in the chemistry, especially that needs to digest those different parts. So fats and sugars especially are hard to put together.
For me, too much gets me too buzzy. You know, and again, it's exactly what Mark says. It's moderation, and you have to know your own body. Some people with their health challenges can't do any kind of sugar like that at all. If you do a little bit, for most people, it's fine. And if I'm doing an entire pie, the amount of agave that's in a single slice of something is so minute. A lot of times I'll use dates instead for a sweetener. There's something called yakan syrup, which is supposedly zero glycemic, and I know Gabriel Cousins
What kind of
talks
syrup?
about that. Yakan, Y-A-C-O-N. It has a kind of a molasses taste. It's a little bit odd. It also depends what your recipe calls for, because some recipes just you want a little bit of sweetness in it. Other recipes you need that volume of liquid.
So is that sugar that yakan, that doesn't count as a sugar?
Well, it is a sugar, and it's gonna serve as a sweetener in your body, but it's supposedly zero glycemic, so it does not raise the blood sugar level in your body. It does not spike it the way the others do. So I've tried them all. I've tried raw honey. I've tried all the different agaves. I've tried just doing the fruit. And again, I always keep coming back to the greens. You know, as I continue on with my raw journey, it's more about the greens for me. But when I do want to have a treat, you know, I'll have something. And like Mark and Donna both said, I believe everything I put into my body is for my vibrant well-being. And if it's not, then I take a look at what I ate and said, okay, what did I have? When during the day did I have it? Was I exercising? Was I doing other things? And I make adjustments. I don't beat myself up for it.
And Donna, can you pass it to Rick? The also licorice fruit tea, very sweet, very good for the throat, but very sweet and tastes delicious. Licorice fruit.
Your body lives on sugar. It's called glucose. So it's the fuel of choice. Now, here's the deal. You have plenty of fuel. And let's believe this is a candle. And this is what's burning inside you is the candle. You want to hold the candle for me? Now, the limiting factor that happens to us is that we lose oxygen. And we don't have enough oxygen in our system to burn the amount of sugar that we have taken in our society today. The miraculous thing that happens is that plants take in carbon dioxide and water, and they turn this into apples and pears and all these different fruits. And it's up to us to decide at what level of sugar are we going to put in our system. Sugar is sugar from a biological point of view. There are things that are a little less glycemic, but when it comes to making smoothies, I think it was Victoria Butenko who taught me that if you put a half a banana in a kale smoothie, you're going to knock out a lot of that bitterness flavor, and that little half a banana isn't going to add too much sugar to your smoothie. But sugar is sugar, and the idea is when it doesn't have oxygen to be able to burn that sugar, there's only one other biological process that's going to happen at 98.6 degrees. It's going to ferment, and it's going to be yeast that's going to ferment the rest of the sugar that you don't have enough oxygen to burn. So on the back of this, the number one nutrient it says is oxygen. Learn to breathe. Get that carbon dioxide out of your system and do yoga. That's one of the best things. Every class in yoga, they're going to constantly be telling you what? Inhale, exhale.
And if they don't, which a lot of classes do not anymore, then you shouldn't go to the class. And I said that yesterday, that yoga without breathing is like life without smiling. And so many of the new yogas that are out now are more for you aerobic wackos.
So yeah, that's why the 80-10-10 works so well. When you're bringing in lots of sugars, you better be climbing trees to get your sugars like the ancient days, or be doing athletics, because that's the oxygen that balances out the sugar, getting massive alkalinity in.
Yes. What fell out? Top of your hair fell out.
But there could be other factors as to why that happened. So I just want to know, I really want to give it up for good. What do I replace? How do I do it? Do I just jump into it? How do I transition?
Okay, I see.
How do you replace fish?
Being a colon therapist, I see people who thrive. It's very controversial, I'm going to say, thrive with eating maybe fish twice a week, but primarily, healthy fats and vegetable diet. I see people that eat that way that are much healthier than the raw food people that come in sometimes. So when the hair is falling out, it could be stress. I'm not a doctor, but it can be stress related, but it can also have something to do with candida. So I'm not sure when you took the fish out, maybe you were upping your carbs, and you might have been upping your sweets, and then the candida is thriving. thrives on the sugars. So that could be possible. But mineralization is very important. So maybe there was something in the fish when you took that out. So again, the greens, sea vegetables, algae. You know, on a raw foods diet, you get plenty of protein. Most people are getting way too much protein. So when you're including, like I mentioned, the algae, the sea vegetables, lots of greens, wheatgrass, sprouts, you should be just fine. Oh, and you can eat a little bit of fat. Avocados, nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are a great source of minerals too. And we don't want to overeat on that. But healthy fats with vegetables, it's wonderful. And it's going to be more satisfying that way. Yes?
Two things. One, if the hair's falling out, the acids are congregating in the follicles. If there's acids, that also means protein metabolism is down because we need alkaline to create what we call nitrogen retention. That's the protein at the where it counts. Okay, so if we're acid, we're not getting maybe the protein we need. We're getting plenty in our diet, but it's not reaching where it counts. Get alkaline, hair stops start falling out, and you get protein from what you're already getting. Then you're not craving protein from the fish. Your body's saying, I need protein. Maybe it's just too acid to metabolize or create protein, nitrogen retention, which is then causing all these other effects, which like hair falling out. That's a definite symptom of acids in tissues.
I just want to second what Donna said. I know a lot of people who do not go 100% raw, and you do not need to be 100% raw to get the benefits of raw food. It's very important. But I know a lot of people who do not want to give up animal meat or fish, which would be wise to do, but if you don't want to, it's just cut down on it tremendously. And if you still have a little bit, but the majority of what you're doing is an alkalizing diet. And don't stress yourself out so much thinking you need to be 100% raw vegan to be healthy. It is the highest quality food. However, if that's the majority of your diet and you're eating a little fish, I know a man 107 years old. I met him when he was 103, and he's in great shape. And he's been eating fish every day for his whole life. So, you know, it's what we do with the majority of our diet that counts. But those small amount, if you can get rid of it and find ways to do it in a healthy standpoint, great. But if you're struggling with it and you don't want to do it and you just want to make sure you're getting a really clean source, and also you just reduce the amount to as small amount possible, and you could be okay.
No, let Kevin go.
One more. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. We're all passionate here.
Yeah, we all got something to say about fish. I was born in a fishing town in England. A lot of my family were fishermen, and when I became a raw foodist, one of the things I definitely gave up was a lot of friends who were fishermen. And not by my choice, but by their choice. And fish should not be eaten anymore, not even in small amounts, for a couple of reasons. And that is that, first of all, mercury, the levels of mercury in fish are way too high. There was a research, I think it was last year, that said that a third of New Yorkers already have 3 to 4 times the levels of mercury in their blood. And most people are eating fish. They think the health side of it is for HDA and DHA, the two blood thinners that cold water fish have. What's much better to do is to look at reasons why the blood may be thick in the first place, and to deal with that, rather than look to a fish to provide you with some kind of blood thinning effect. And lastly is that because I grew up in the fishing world, I sort of know a lot about fishing, and to be quite honest, there are very few fish left in our oceans. And fish play a very important role. They are part of the system which cleans our oceans. And from our oceans, we get the water which falls as rain that we get to drink. And as people are encouraged to eat more fish, or even any fish at this stage, not only are you risking perhaps the mercury effect and its association with Alzheimer's disease and neurological challenges, it attacks the neurological system, but you're also participating in something that is completely destroying our oceans. And you have to stand up. You have to say, do you want to participate in that? And that, I feel, is the greatest reason never to eat a piece of fish. And if people think that fish is our food, and I'd be happy to argue with anybody who thinks that fish is our food, I'll say to him, go out and catch me a fish. Go get me a tuna. Go on, go get me one. Swim out into the ocean in your little swimsuit, wrestle a tuna down, bring it back to the shore, and we'll all eat it. We cannot catch fish. It was never our food. We can't even look underwater. Now, why would something be our food that we didn't even know was there, that was under the oceans? Then there's these shows on TV, these people catching these crabs out in the middle of the ocean and bringing them in and dying and ships turning over, just to provide us with something that we think is food. It was never our food. If it was very well hidden from us. We just happened to find it. So please, if you're trying to make a move on fish, be strong with it. Know that you're not just doing yourself something good, but you're doing something very, very important for the planet also.
Also, very good. And I just want to add a little bit to that. Is I started eating fish again, and the best way I think for me that I'm going to stop, which I think would be a good way for you to stop, is in my heart of hearts, I know the fish hate it. Yeah.
If you do eat fish, consider that the heavy metal toxicity, you may need to get into saunas on a regular basis. You might need to eat a lot of chlorella because that also pulls out, chelates the heavy metals out of the body. So I see this a lot where people have too much heavy metal toxicity from eating fish.
Yes.
Just one quick question for Kevin. When you fast, and you fast 43 days to 120, do you choose a different juice or product to fast with? And do you work while you're fasting?
I do. Okay, it's a big question to answer. When you're doing a long distance, long time fast, you can do everything because it's so many days, you're going to get bored or you need something just to keep you going. So I primarily teach the lemonade cleanse, like the master cleanse, but it's a more updated version of it. But as any advice anybody will give you on any type of cleansing, fasting, juice feasting, it's the principles that are what's important. It's understanding that whatever fast, juice feast you're going to do, that you remain in the alkaline state. That's where you want to be, that regenerative situation. And as long as you maintain that, you can vary it up with any type of juice, raw soups, that enable you to go further. Now, I'm into long distance sort of fasting, going for longer and longer. I did 130 days this year. I'm going to do 169 next year, and I'm gradually increasing it so that I have this thing for year 2012, this big event that's coming up there. I want to be, if it's a vibrational event, which everybody at the New Life Expo and people here speak about, for me personally, I want to be at the highest vibrational levels so that I can interact with this event that is coming up. So for my personal journey, I'm educating my body to go further and further. But as you go further, you can vary it up with incredible variability, taste, flavors, but it's just basically understanding the principle and keeping your body alkaline through that whole process. I believe that humans are breatharians at heart, and that the amount of food we eat should be very little, and it's more for detoxification purposes and to allow us to understand the environment we're in. Like if I go somewhere hot, like it gets hot here now in the city, I recommend you all start eating coconuts, mangoes, fruits and things that grow in a tropical climate. Well, as we ingest that, it goes down to my DNA. My DNA picks up and says, hey, Kevin's living somewhere tropical right now. So it will begin to adjust to my climatic environment, and it will stop.
We only have 10 more minutes.
Sorry. So it'll adjust. Then as we go into fall and it gets a little colder, we move more to the foods that are going to send that message down. Perhaps make me a little fatter and grow my hair a little faster. But when it's hot, my hair will grow less, a little thinner. So my body's interacting through the food process.
So 2 years ago, Jazz Moheen lectured here. She's a breatharian. She'll be at the New Life Expo in October. Okay. Yeah. One more question. Two more questions. Good. So.
I just would like you to explain if it's okay to juice enough in the morning and refrigerate it or leave it out on the counter for the day.
Can you juice in the morning, your day's worth of juice, drink some, leave the rest in the refrigerator?
It depends on what kind of juicer you have. If you have a Green Star or Green Power, you could make that in the morning, and if you keep it in the refrigerator, and you should fill up your containers to the top, so there's not much air. And yeah, then you do what you can. I mean, ideally, you want to make the juice and drink it right away, but in today's world, that would be fine. That works.
So what would be a bad juicer to do that with?
Like a Juice Man juicer, centrifugal force juicers. It's not going to, the one with the round blade is not going to keep as long. The best, the prime rib of juicers would be the Norwalk. If you live here in the city and you're familiar with Liquiteria, they make their bottled juices with a Norwalk press, and it lasts at least 3 days. So I live in East Village, so they deliver. But if you don't, they may deliver if you're even in another neighborhood, if you order a bunch of juice. So
and at the New Life Expo in October, Norwalk Juicer will have a booth again.
Yeah, so you can buy a bunch and have it. You could make a trip and you'll have juice for a few days.
Chad.
I went the first 4 years doing this raw thing with no blender, no juicer. And what I discovered is that basically this is research through dentistry as well, but that each tooth is connected to a nerve which goes to an organ. And so if you want juice, a lot of times I was finding myself just chewing on celery and chewing until I got it down. It comes to a turkey-like substance, and you can just spit out the cud. But that piezoelectric stimulation of the teeth also stimulates the organs. You get all your hydration, you get all your green juice, and you also stimulate your organs. And that pressure, just like they say, weight-bearing exercise over time builds your bones. You don't get weak bones in old age. Well, you can actually regrow the tissue, but it takes that pressure on the teeth. So many people are drinking down baby food. By the time they're 50, they're wondering why they have weak teeth. This is part of the equation that we can also take into account.
Thank you. And last question. Yes. A great substitute for rice.
Well, if it's at Hippocrates Health Institute, and I keep referring to them because they've been doing this longer than anyone else with the raw food diet, and they use sprouted alkalizing grains such as millet and quinoa, so those would be better substitutes. And if you are on the rice, definitely not white rice. Brown rice is better than white rice, but most grains are acid forming, but the alkalizing ones are the millet and the quinoa. So those would be the ones.
Also jicama. You can use jicama, which is really interesting. It has that texture, because a lot of times when we eat, it's the texture that we're looking for and that taste that we want. So also a cauliflower, you can pulse that in your food processor, and that'll give that kind of texture and that feeling of rice. But honestly, I used to do rice and beans all the time. I don't miss it at all. Your tastes change. The more that you do this diet, your body starts craving the healthier things, and you want that, and you really don't miss it at all. It's just about making that commitment to yourself and deciding you're worth that. And you're worth having this healthy life for yourself and for the people that you love.
Thank you. So I'm going to have everybody give a closing statement with their websites and phone numbers, how you can get in touch with them. Before I do that, Kevin Shuker, you'll be seeing him running around. If he's not too busy doing the videos, you can speak to him about that. And Kevin will be giving a lecture tonight at 7 o'clock. Also tonight, at 5 o'clock, Donna Perone will be giving a lecture. And also Paul tonight will be going neck and neck with Kevin. He'll be giving a lecture at 7 o'clock also. Also, though, if you happen to miss Paul's, Paul has a booth on the mezzanine floor. Arianna Rose will be at Victoria's booth on the mezzanine floor. Chad Vandenberg will be in the Elements of Life booth on the mezzanine floor. And closing statements.
First, I want to thank Mark again, and thank you all so much for coming. Yes, I'm speaking here tonight at 7. I'm up against Paul. We're going to be duking it out in the Murray Hill room, if you'd like to come and see it a little bit later. But if you come to one of us or you miss one of the others, they will be filmed, and those workshops will be up on QUEST.TV. We have 225 workshops up there covering the New Life Expo, Yoga Raw Expo, and a lot of other people that you can find their information up there. So I wish you all a great journey. It's going to be perhaps the most challenging thing you may undertake, but it's also the greatest thing that you will ever undertake. So thank you all for coming, and enjoy the rest of the day.
I say find a meetup group. Go to Donna's or mine or any of. There's so many here. Find other people that want to do this lifestyle with you. That support is so important. Can be a very challenging route to take. Also, Raw Spirit Festival, the New Life Expos, which are wonderful. I'm so privileged to be a part of. Robin Anderson is right here. She is the East Coast manager for the Raw Spirit Festival, and we're both going to Santa Barbara on Tuesday for the one out there. And all the New Life Expos, come to them all the time. Also, just be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself, and just take it one step at a time. And it's a journey. It's all about the journey. There's no destination here. And love yourselves.
Also, Happy Oasis, who does the Raw Spirit Festival, and I were planning to collaborate and do a Raw Spirit Festival upstate New York next summer.
Yes, she wanted me to talk to you about that. And Happy Oasis is going to be talking at my cafe in June, so you can come talk to me about that. We're doing a special dinner for her. So.
Great. I'm from Brooklyn. I live in Florida now, and I travel all over the world. I'm on a new book tour. The reason why I say that is I don't get to New York often. I'm only here once or twice a year. I'm coming back one time this year in August, but Kevin lives in New York. You can see him anytime, so see me tonight. But he gives classes a lot, and he has a TV show, QUEST.TV, so you could always check him out. But tonight I will be talking about, even if you have seen before, I'll be talking a brand new lecture tonight. It's about my new book, The Daylight Diet. I'll be speaking, I think, right here at 7 o'clock. And don't plan a dinner date after my lecture because it's all about not eating late at night. My website is paulnison.com, paulnison.com. If you miss me tonight, you can see where I'll be here in August. I'll be speaking for Donna's group. And you can see where else I'll be speaking all over the country. And if you want to get my books or information, you can either come downstairs and talk to me. I have a table down there. Or you can go to rawlife.com also. I also have a toll-free number, 866-RAW-PAUL. Yeah, I hope you remember that because it's pretty easy. So thank you very much, everybody. I look forward to seeing you. Please come down and sign up for my newsletter, and God bless.
I just want to thank Mark Becker. It was a year ago that I had my debut at New Life, and I now am part of the family. So I'm very grateful, very, very grateful. And let's see, I'll be speaking at 5 o'clock on juice fasting. So I'll also be speaking on just cleansing and detoxification. So even if you're not planning to fast, you might learn a few things. Accent on Wellness, you can get more information, see the events I have posted at Donna Perrone, PERRONE.com. I have cards up here. If you're interested in having a colonic, we'll discuss food combining on your first session. Every client, we go over that. You can go to gravityeastvillage.com and check out my website. We have many therapists. We have 2 treatment rooms and an infrared sauna. My infomercial here. I have an email list up here if you just want to sign up now and get emails on all my events. Happy Oasis is coming and doing an event later in June. And I'm also teaching the power of food cravings in about a week or 2. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And what I want to do is invite everybody to realize that whether you're just curious about these things, whether you're curious about raw food, living food, superfoods, or just the lifestyle in general, that wherever you're at, where you've come from, that you can serve as a bridge for this knowledge, this information to people in your world. And we have a community right now. Stop by our booth, find out how it works, because you can basically learn how to get superfoods for free. You can get a lot of neat benefits and learn how to share this in your neighborhood with people whose lives literally can be transformed. So we're having a lot of fun doing that. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I want to acknowledge all of you for coming. It's a beautiful Sunday out there. You could be anywhere, but you take your health seriously. You're here trying to learn. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to learn too. I zigzag like the rest of you. You are what you eat. Try to make good choices. Put more deposits in than you're taking withdrawals out of your account for health, and you'll probably start to see some real results. Once you get those real results, it starts to snowball for you. Good luck to all of you.
So I want to thank everybody on the panel. I love these panels. Thank you all for coming. I know you're all coming to my yoga class at 2 o'clock, so this is great. Enjoy the day.
No, just me.